Hello there one and all, Ruckus here, back once again with some more patch 2.4 content. This time we're looking at a new vehicle, and I do believe this marks something of a milestone for the game, as it is the first time Blitz has received a completely new tank at the same time as PC. This is the AC-1 Sentinel. It's a tier 4 premium medium tank that resides in the British tech tree, but don't let that fool you, this strange looking beast is a true blue Aussie. AC-1 stands for Australian Cruiser Tank Mark 1, and this, the Sentinel series, represents my country's sole serious foray into tank design and production. Conceived during the early years of World War II, the Sentinel was intended to help modernise a severely underpowered Australian army and allow it to meet its obligations as a Commonwealth nation. The design brief specified that the new cruiser class tank should be capable of a top speed of 56 km per hour and have armour equivalent to 50mm of plate steel. With its limited manufacturing experience, Australia had traditionally looked to its allies for heavy equipment. Britain, though, was preoccupied with its own survival, and the US had only just begun ramping up production to fulfill the demands of its own armed forces. A proposed solution based on the M3 Lee fell through due to a lack of available parts, so it was up to local industry, under the guidance of British engineer Colonel W.D. Watson, to fill the gaps, and the Sentinel stands testament to the ingenuity of the time. Enough rolled plate steel required for a conventional armour scheme couldn't be produced, so instead Sydney firm Bradford Kendall cast the entire hull in a single 8-ton piece. At the time, this was the largest single cast tank hull ever attempted. The engine off the M3 Lee also was not available, but General Motors Holden managed to fashion a functional power plant out of 3 Cadillac V8s instead. The fancy M3 Synchro Mesh gearbox proved impossible to replicate, so in went a simple crash type gearbox instead. Simplification and ease of manufacturing was the number one priority, but even so, the resulting machine was by all accounts capable, reliable, and performed to or beyond specification. Firepower for the AC-1 was in the form of a 40mm 2-pounder main gun with coaxial and bow-mounted machine guns as secondaries. And this is as good a time as any to discuss the elephant in the room. You may be wondering, just what the hell is this suspiciously phallic looking device protruding from the front of the hull here? Well, the bow-mounted machine gun used on the AC-1 was actually a Vickers water-cooled model, and this protrusion is the armoured housing to protect the gun's water jacket. Surely though someone had a laugh when they first mounted this thing. We'd better blur that out just to be safe. It was obvious that even before the first AC-1s roll off the production lines in 1942, that the 2-pounder main gun was hopelessly inadequate, and so design experimentation continued, eventually culminating in this, the AC-4. Although never making it into production, the Mark IV featured a slew of improvements, including increased engine performance and efficiency. There were now 4 Holden-made engines crammed into the engine bay, an improved armour scheme, and a larger turret ring that allowed the installation of the new high-velocity 17-pounder British anti-tank gun. Wargaming, take note, this is the Sentinel we Australians demand. Unfortunately for the Sentinel, by 1943 US tank production had ramped up to full speed, and hundreds of Lend-Lease Lees and Shermans were available to the Australian Army. In the interests of cost effectiveness and standardisation of equipment across Allied forces, the Sentinel program was terminated. The only action seen by any of these 65 completed AC-1s was as props for the 1944 film The Rats of Tobruk, and they played the part of the Germans. So that's the history, but what's it like in game, and is it worth your time and money? Well, if you're a big fan of the Matilda, but you were constantly frustrated by its terrible manoeuvrability, then maybe the Sentinel is the tier 4 medium for you. The armour won't hold up quite so well as the Brits, but still far better than the others in the tier, and the trade-off is that you get roughly twice the mobility. The power to weight is poor, but for a tank of its weight, the AC-1's top speed and traverses sit right on the average. The gun though is definitely a sore point. The AC-1 only gets the Matilda's stock 2-pounder, the Mark 10A. It has the highest rate of fire for the tier, but the penetration values are lousy, and at only 45 damage per shot, taking down your opponents requires good accuracy and a lot of time. Luckily though, this gun has a blisteringly fast 1.7 second aim time and only 0.36 meters gun dispersion. Combine this with its excellent gun depression of -10 degrees and you've got a medium tank that feels very comfortable in rugged terrain. Tankers should use the good speed of the AC-1 to move between hold down positions and always be looking to maintain a height advantage over their opponents. A high sniping position ensures you'll keep your targets in sight long enough for the damage to add up, and if they get too close, well, you can always ram them. And that is all I've got time for, guys. Thank you very much for watching my preview on the Australian Cruiser Tank Mark 1 Sentinel. Good luck in game, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.